So that's why when we are sitting, we can look deeply at ourselves and we see that we are not ourselves. We are a continuation of our mom, our dad. We are not completely our dad or our mom, but we are the continuations of our mom and our dad. And we're also continuations of our ancestor and grandparents. And we are a continuous flow. Our ancestor, relatives, parents, grandparents, they are being continued within us. We see that we are a continuous flow. And when we're able to see that we are a continuous flow, we can escape from the idea of self. And because of that, we are not disturbed by our sufferings and causing us pain. First of all, this complex of equality, complex of better than others, complex of lesser than others. We live in the Sangha. We have happiness or not. It depends on whether we're able to see this or not. If we accept ourselves and see who we are, then we can accept other people and see who they are. But if we can't accept ourselves, then we can't accept others. There are people in us who can't accept themselves. And we have this inferior complex. We are angry at ourselves. And when we can't accept ourselves, how can we accept others? And if we don't accept each other, when we live together, there's no happiness. So the happiness in the Sangha is based on the practice of acceptance. We have to begin like this. I accept myself like that. I am a flow, continuous flow. Because my grandparents, ancestors like this, that's why I'm like this. And I accept it fully. In me, there are talents. In me, there are weaknesses. I accept the talents and weaknesses in me. We saying like that doesn't mean I am powerless. Because of my practice, I can develop those talents. Because of the practice, I can transform transform slowly these weaknesses. So those two things go together. On one side, accepting the inheritance left behind, accepting the continuous flow. On one side, there's a dream, an aspiration to make it better. So this acceptance and this dream, they go together. So when there's a person looking at us and praise us or criticize us, and if we have that insight, then we won't suffer. Because while we're looking at ourselves, we can see the good points and the negative points. For sure, there are things, the talents and weaknesses. Everyone has those. And those talents and weaknesses are not just only belong to ourselves. It's all from the inheritance, the transmission, just like the river. The river is like that because all these smaller branches going into the rivers are like that. We have to accept all of that. And this acceptance brings us peace. We have to accept that we have these merits, talents, and the weaknesses. It's very important. When someone else criticizes, for example, you are so good, then we have to know how to react in a way that's in accordance with the Dhamma. We can see what you say is partly right. Because in me, there are these positive aspects, but you also remember that there are weaknesses. But what you say, your praise, is only partly right. So that's why we can escape from that complex of superior, of better than others. If we don't have that insight and people keep praising us, then we think we're God. So when someone praises you, then inside we have to say, you are partly right. I have some positive points like that, but you don't know. I also have other negative aspects. We don't say that, but we have to think that. If someone praises, we have to say, you are partly right, because you haven't seen my negative aspects. So we can keep our humility and we do not stick our nose up and we corrupt ourselves. For example, someone come and criticize you. You are useless. You are someone with a lot of weaknesses. And the same, we can say this person is only partly right. I have some also good points and talents. And at that time, we can reply with our words or our silence, but inside we need to have that sentence. That is only partly right. You are only partly right. This is our sixth mantra. This mantra, we can say it in words, but for sure, if we say it in words, we have to say it in ourselves. When someone come and praise you, then you have to remember to say that mantra. You praise me too much, but you don't see all my weakness. You only see a part of the truth. And you can also tell that person that. So that's the truth. Because if you're able to accept yourself, you have peace. And when you're able to accept yourself, you have the ability to accept others. It's great. We don't require the other person. We accept that person as is, but we still have this wish that this person with their practice can develop the good things in them and can lessen their weaknesses. But that wish is not a pressure or criticism. Because we behave to ourselves like this, we realize that in us we have the good points and the negative points. We accept both the positive and the negative aspects, and we have peace. But there's no one preventing us from having a wish that with this practice we can increase the good points and we can lessen the negative points. And we have the wish for ourselves like this, and we can also have the same wish for others. So that's why before we criticize a younger sister, We have to remember this. We have to accept that person first. Instead of saying, you are useless, we have to say, you have many good things, but there are a few weaknesses that I would like you to practice so that those weaknesses can be less. If you say it like that, the other person will be happier. Because in the Sangha, there are some people who are very fragile, very sensitive. So they're afraid of the shining light. When we accept ourselves, we accept the weaknesses within us, and all of a sudden we have peace. And when we look at someone else, we can accept other people easily. We look at someone else and accept them, and in our eyes there's a light of acceptance. And when we look someone like that, they are happy. But if we look with the eyes of scrutinizing or criticizing, then that person will suffer. So that's why each of us should have that light of acceptance in our eyes. Dear brother, dear sister, dear siblings, I accept you like that. I accept you as you are. And our eyes have to shine that light of acceptance. Even if that person has weaknesses, and we wish that person to be able to transform them, but we have to be able to see that that person has weaknesses, but also they have good points in there. There's no one who doesn't have any talents or any good points. So when we are criticized by someone, we have to base it on that insight to see that he is partly right, only partly right. He has not seen the other part of me. That person only sees a part of us and not all of us, but that's the truth. How can you see all of the other person? Even ourselves, we don't see it. How can we see the other person? So we live in a community. We have to have that humility. We have to see that we don't have a separate self. We are continuations of our ancestors. All the talents, all the merits that we have, we think is ours, of a separate self. All those are from our ancestors transmitting to us. We have to see that. We have to give gratitude that our ancestors transmit to us the seeds of talents and virtues. If we have a body that's healthy or beautiful, we don't get too prideful, because that belongs to the ancestor, it's not ours. And if we have some weaknesses, some bad habits, that is also from the ancestor. Do not get stuck in the self-concept and get mad at ourselves. Why am I like this? So the important thing is to accept acceptance. We have to accept ourselves. Like I said, accepting ourselves means we're not powerless in that position, but we have to have aspiration for our practice to develop our positive points, and with our practice, we can decrease our weaknesses. And if we're able to act like that to ourselves, then we can begin to act like that to other people. We can see the other people with the eyes of acceptance. Dear brother, dear sister, I accept you as you are. You are my brother, you are my sister. And the other person will be happy. It doesn't mean that we don't have any dream or wish for that person. We have the wish for that person the same as we have the wish for ourselves to develop the good seeds within them and able to transform a few negative aspects within themselves. So this mantra that I suggested is you are partly true, you are partly right. And when they praise us, that is just partly right. And when they criticize us, this is only partly right. Because all of us, we have our weaknesses and our strengths. Do not let the praising or the blaming can cause us suffering. And when we praise or we criticize others, we have to be careful too. We just say our wish, but do not criticize or praise others. We don't inflate the ego of the other person bigger to get bigger, and we don't want to get our own ego get bigger.